Alright, welcome back to another TSTerra playing Warframe video. So, in this video, this is the probably first actual Warframe recording video I've done for the main channel. So anyone who is new to this channel that is here for Warframe, you'll notice there's a lot of Terra videos, and I plan to be posting Warframe and Terra videos. So, to get that out of the way, thank you for stopping by. I hope you enjoy. Feel free to check out the Terra stuff, and I hope you enjoy all the Warframe stuff. Now, some of you might, who are more in tune with what I was doing, is I had two channels, and one of them was for Warframe and other games, but I decided as a new content creator that it might not be the best to have two channels, so I decided to fully merge my channels, and a lot of the videos you've seen about Warframe were either the Terry contest, which I plan to have more clan and alliance contests on this channel, as well as live stream of the new quest line, Angels of Zenurik, and then updated versions of my guides to Eidolon hunting from the alt channel. So in today's video, what I want to go over is, since we have the new Angels of Zenurik, and there's a whole rework to all of the Tenno schools, I want to go over the new Tenno schools, the rework, along with going over how it changes Eidolon hunts and some things I have noticed. So, and there's a lot of people who are like, oh, freaking out about Madurai and Unairu and all this stuff, and I just kind of want to go over what I've found out. So first, let's take a look at all of our Tenno schools. You should have been refunded from DE. Hopefully you didn't make the mistake I made on stream, which was that originally I thought Brilliant or whatever the ones that were to Waybound were the most expensive. Somehow, somewhere, something got changed. I did some grinding, I got everything back. And yeah, my Waybounds are on all fixed since the stream. But definitely, if you haven't checked out that stuff yet, be cautious that you don't use the wrong ones to get focused like I did. So let's take a look at Vazarin. Vazarin was never really used in Eidolon hunts. Most people only ran Unairu and Madurai, and that's just because you want these Waybounds. They're very important. But Guardian Shield, Void Snare back then, like all these stuff never really helped. But there is a new thing now with Void Regen and Squad Regen that Vazarin, along with the revives, could become slightly more useful. The Guardian Shield is also slightly better now. And, it can regenerate quite a bit of stuff. So, we'll get into why I say Vazarin could be used a bit more. It's mainly for this extra healing, that if someone on your squad doesn't have anything but Vazarin, just have them make sure that they have this healing stuff. And instant revives are pretty nice, because one thing you'll notice when I go and fight the Eidolons to break the shields, you'll see why it's changed a lot. So that's Vazarin. The next one I would say that's useful besides Madurai, we're taking Madurai out of the equation, because Madurai is what I want to focus mainly on, is, I did not want to do that, is Zenurik. So Zenurik's Waybounds are, extra energy. These are nice things to have. Again, not necessary. And then, if I recall, somewhere inside of Zenurik is probably the energy stuff, if I remember correctly. Creates a wall of energy for 8 seconds, allowing passing through the well. Gains 5 energy. Use your first ability inside the well to increase the boost. Oh, that's where it was. I do apologize. I am kind of still figuring where things are that I want to talk about. It's this skill right here that Vazarin or Zenurik becomes more useful in Eidolon hunts than before. That now, if you use your first ability and you cast it inside Wellspring, everyone on your team gets a boost of duration along with a boost of ability strength. So it's not needed. You know, Warframe's given us so many ways to one-tap limbs at this point that you don't need this extra ability strength. But, I mean, it's useful. It does give a team use. Zenurik's not bad because you can help keep people's energy up. And that's kind of been one thing with Eidolon hunts is, depending how you play, you're popping energy pads like crazy. Well, this helps you pop less energy pads. So that's one thing to look into. Again, it's not necessary. A lot of people might throw hate in the comments and be like, why run Zenurik at all? I agree, you don't need it at all. But if you're running with someone that they've been focusing Zenurik and don't have focus in anything else, definitely make sure they have Hardened Wellspring along with Wellspring. It's just useful. Like, there is a use to it. And I want to point out that Zenurik, which was really useless in Eidolon hunts, now has a slightly more use. Next, I'll go into Naramon. There's nothing here. Get your waybounds, get the Opera movement speed and Void Sling. That's it. Honestly, Naramon is all about melee. It's not a terrible tree. It's just, it's not going to help you in Eidolon hunts by no means if you are trying. Multiplier to increase amp damage. Okay, so amp spike might be considered the old Madurai. I just ran my cursor over that. I might have to play with that. I might make a second video about that. We'll see. That could, if it's only a 1 times combo multiplier to amp damage, it's only 100%. Unairu or Madurai is still better, but I guess maybe Naramon has a bit more use than what I thought, which, I mean, congrats DE. Unairu. Now, Unairu was a huge one because of Unairu Wisp. Anyone who knows the old strat with Unairu, and you'll see in, you know, amp builds that, you know, people used to do mag dumps with the Unairu Wisp. I have bad news about Unairu. It's become much harder to use now in Eidolon hunts, and I will test it in this video, but when the patch first released before all the hotfixes, I would use Caustic Strike on the Eidolon and no Wisp would come out. And I know that the new one, the Wisp goes to the nearest ally. So whoever's closest gets it. But here's the thing, I was solo. And I repeatedly hit the Eidolon, and it does not count as an enemy for Wisp. Now maybe there's a special spot you need to hit. Maybe it's been changed in the hotfix, so when I do run the Eidolon hunt, I will retest this because I am curious to see maybe the hotfix fix that. But what this brings Unairu down to is that you basically will have to hit any of the Greniers or Vomalist out in Cetus to get your Wisp to be able to break the shields. And it's not that this is a bad thing, necessarily, for team runners, but Unairu has definitely taken a far step back. Now, if I can hit the Eidolon and make the Wisp spawn, it could be worth again. But honestly, it's not what it used to be. It's still good, but it's way more finicky. And I know the old one, it wasn't 100% chance, and you might be like, dude, it's 100% chance. I'm telling you, if it doesn't work on the Eidolon, you do not want a chance hoping a Vomalist will come up. Because when it comes to speed, you don't want that. You don't want variables. You want guarantees. And that is a variable, unfortunately. So, and it's a much less controlled variable. Before it was a bit more controlled. So that's one thing I really want to point out, because Unairu was something I ran solo all the time, and now I don't even touch Unairu. The last one to get into is Madurai, and oh my god, has Madurai changed. There is no more charging. So all the runners who used to sit at the gate, put energy pads down, y'all know who you were. We all been there. Anyone who's run this content that knows, they know. They've been there. Sit at the gate, drop your energy pads down, you charge your amp up to like a 20, 40, 60, 80, 100 times multiplier, because why not? You could. That's gone. There's no more of that. Now, it's power transference. This is massive, though. This is guaranteed that when you switch to your operator, your amp is guaranteed 100% crit damage. You're guaranteed critical damage for 20 seconds. That's a massive buff. And you can hop in your operator or hop in your Warframe and back out, and you refresh that 20 seconds. There's no cooldown on that. That's something people need to realize, is that now we gotta think about our amps a bit more. And we gotta think, if we can get an amp with high crit chance, that crit damage is massive. And I'm gonna show that off in this video. The next thing to know is that Void Strike. So where Void Strike used to be charging and the sneeze, it's now changed that when you cast your first ability, you increase your damage for 8 seconds, and you deal 10% additional damage for every percentage of energy consumed. That, so that uses all the energy, it uses what it takes, and that damage buff is pretty massive. I want to say percentage of energy. I don't really know the math behind it, unfortunately, of how much energy is being used. But you'll see that when you cast that first ability, between power transference and timing your Void Strike, you get some pretty nutty numbers. Now, it is a 40-second cooldown. So, whereas before you could, there was the one amp that only needed about a 3 to 8 multiplier charge to one-shot the shields. And, you know, getting that multiplier is pretty quick, that, you know, using your shots for, you know, shields and limbs were okay. This cooldown affects solo players a bit. And that it does take a bit of time to wait for this cooldown. But me and a friend recently did a duo with both Madurai users, and honestly, we could have been maybe like a few seconds faster on popping limbs, but even by the time I was able to, basically, if I went first, I cast my Void Strike, I stripped the shields, popped the limb. My friend would then cast his Void Strike, strip the shields basically as fast. I popped the limb, and my Void Strike was, if it wasn't back by the time the limb was popped, for the fastest popping, and we were, trust me, it was pretty instant, maybe 2-3 seconds delayed. mine was coming off by the time the limb was popped. Even if we popped it 5 seconds, and I had like 2-3 seconds delayed, the Eidolon still has to sit on the ground and scream. By the end of that scream, the second Madurai user or first Madurai user's Void Strike would be back up. So I can say right now, guaranteed, running 2 Madurais is all you need to instant wipe shields throughout the whole fight. And there's no more charging. You just do it. It's fantastic. It's a great change. A lot of people are like, oh, it's a huge nerf. No, it's actually a massive buff. In my opinion, this is a massive, massive buff. It's kind of crazy. Because before you used to have to sit and charge. Even with the Propa amp with that little orb popping at, you know, a 4 times multiplier, you had to sit and charge and get that multiplier. Now, it's a cast of a skill. You're good to go. And it's time-based. You know, it's all time-based. It's not, you know, hit-based. It's not. So, for power transference, like I said, you pop out, you pop in, you pop out, you get it back. A Void Strike, yeah, you got to cool down. Get over it. It's really not as bad as some people, I think, thought when they released it in the patch notes. If anything, I expect this to be nerfed. I'm going to say it here. I'm expecting a nerf to this. And when I post this video, and when you see the next portion of this video, you will see why I expect a nerf. So that's Madurai. That's the biggest thing that I want to point out. Is those are the changes. And as I said, you only really need 2 people running Madurai. Hence why I say it's not horrible to have a Vazarin, a Zenurik, or an Unairu. I'll have to test that Naramon off video. I'm not going to struggle with that on a video. Just because I don't know about it. And I'm actually kind of glad I scrolled over it. So that'll be a future video of me testing that if it works out. But the Unairu I want to test on video to show off if the Wisp does or doesn't work with the hotfixes. I haven't read patch notes. I apologize. But realistically, the Madurai alone is enough to cancel out Unairu. Like, you can still have a third person be Unairu. It's not the end of the world. But a third person being Vazarin or Zenurik for the power buff or for the energy. You know, these are more supported roles now that actually have opened up, allowed to be, because you only need 1 or 2 Madurai users, realistically. Whereas before, if you really wanted to shred, I want to say the ideal was 1 Unairu, 3 Madurai users, or 2 Unairu, 2 Madurai users. Now it's almost like Madurai and old Unairu have combined. And you'll see why I say that in the video. So we're going to go to my amp. This is the amp I run. This is what I am running. This is my primary shots: critical chance, critical multiplier, and the void damage. I use the primary shot for this. This is the 727 amp. It's important that you have the 7 at first and the 7 at second. The second amp part does not matter anymore, in my opinion. You could swap it out for something maybe useful to help with vommies. The probe was great to kill vommies, so 777 would be fine. But if we're sticking with strictly destroying the Eidolon shields, the first part is 7 and the third part is 7, because that's what gets you this crit chance and the void damage. I am also running Void Strike, which now you can see why. When I crit, 20% chance for 60 extra crit damage, on top of that 100% crit damage with Madurai, on top of more damage. Things get a little nutty. As well as, if you haven't seen me stream and you haven't seen this amp in action, this is my old Unairu amp. This is the one that I used to punch the Eidolon to get a Wisp and deplete the shields. Now remember when I said new Madurai is like Madurai and old Unairu combined. Things get a little funky. So, I am going to go to the plains. It is nighttime. Fantastic. We go to plains. And yeah. This update, I'm gonna be honest, before I even reach this guy, this is the fastest I've ever taken out Eidolon shields with the least amount of work. So, Eidolon. He's out of the water. I transference. I use Void Strike. I might have gone a little too early. It's okay. And yeah, I definitely went too early. That's very sad. You can see though, that was without the skill. I lost the skill before he could because I was too quick. I apologize. You'll see on the next one. But that was almost just like running old Unairu. Believe it or not, anyone who ran old Unairu, that ran for the Cetus Wisp, understands that you wouldn't ever ran Madurai with this amp setup. It's just not something you would have done. That's not him. Oh no. Oh no. I wasn't paying attention enough. We got lucky. Alright, so there he is. We go out. You can see he has almost full shields anyway. Bop, gone. Instant gone. Pop shields. I still have 30 seconds. So this is the problem. If I had a lore, I would not be able to probably use this skill by the time he gets back up, because he would be back up about now. So this is why I say you want a second Madurai user. Is that then my co-partner, whoever I'm running with, could run the other Madurai and deplete the next shield. By the time that was done, though, you notice I had about 20 seconds. I was a little slow on popping Limb. Not gonna lie. It was a little slow. But if I was a little faster and had a second person, it wouldn't have been an issue. And as you can see, down. So, new Madurai with the old Unairu amp is just nutty. And I know I'm only going to show off Terry, and I'll just kill Terry for the sake of the video. But it's the same with Gonolus and Hydralist. Like, their shields aren't much of a difference. Sure, maybe the first one you might need the other Madurai user's help. But here's Madurai without it. This is just basic Madurai. I didn't cast the skill. So, like, you don't need it. You don't even need the skill. If you want to go the fastest you can, sure. But this whole nerf thing they said or people thought, it's okay. Madurai is still S tier. Unairu I am a little worried about. Unairu is going to become very, very useless if it hasn't been fixed. And I don't know if it needs to be fixed, unfortunately. Like I said, I apologize. I did not read any patch notes for this update. I actually wanted to go in blind because I've been a bit bored with Warframe. And, yeah, this kind of has re-sparked me to really enjoy Warframe. Wow. So sad. If I popped my Hall of Mirrors, it would have been all good. Alright, so there we go. Killed. Man, they die so slow. Crazy. Can I have my stuffies? Alright, well, fine. So, next thing I want to go over is the Unairu. I want to show off. I'm really hoping it is fixed. But I hope with this video so far, you could see that if you're planning to run Eidolons, if anyone's got a better strat, go ahead, throw it down in the comments, let me know. But 7x7, whatever you want to run for second, again, you can argue with me on saying that, like, no, it shouldn't be X, it shouldn't not matter, it should be 2, or it should be Propa to kill Vomies, and yeah, you're right, it should be something that can kill the Vomalist then, since your primary is killing the Eidolon. But realistically, if we're talking about destroying just shields, then 7 whatever 7, in my opinion, is the go-to. Super powerful amp with Madurai. Very strong, depletes everything for you, and the only thing is that cooldown kind of bad. But again, that's really only a nerf to solo players. If anything, I think it's actually a buff to duos and squads, because having 3 people learn how to use old Madurai Void Strike was not easy. So it's not that one. It's using Caustic Strike. And as you can see, I am Caustic Striking him. Maybe it's because he wasn't vulnerable. I missed that one. No, there's no Wisp. 100% no Wisp. It's actually very sad. So as you can see, Unairu, unless this changes ever, that will give me a Wisp, is not viable anymore. I mean, right here, I would get lucky. I get my Wisp, and now I shred again. But I don't want to have to rely on an enemy. The Eidolon doesn't count as one. So, sadly, anyone who ran old Unairu and for the Wisp, I was one of them. Huge rip in the chat. But Madurai, as you can see, is that's basically old Madurai in a way combined with old Unairu, and wow. It slaps. It slaps very hard. I'll go over some amp stuff. You know, personally, I think this amp that I'm running is the best. You got the Clamora, the Certus, and the Shraxkin. You could probably switch out the Shraxkin for the Propa. But, I mean, again, talking strictly shield-based, Clamora is plenty enough with the Certus. The Certus gives you the most crit. The Clamora is just a mag dump, and it's got probably one of the highest crit combos. I haven't tried the secondary shot with it. Honestly, its crit chance is pretty high, and the void damage is pretty high. It might come down to that, like, almost any high crit, high damage amp with Madurai will do the job. But, I mean, it's time-based, so why not take something that's more mag dump base, which is the Clamora Prism. You're shooting out, you know, what is it? Energy fire rate 9,000 a second. Like, you got 8 seconds. You know, this good secondary shot that's, you know, 10 energy, you know, it's a shot a few seconds. Its recharge is kind of bad at times. Like, oh no, I guess the recharge is the same. But, you know, it's a semi shot. Semis are now not going to be as great because it takes time in between each shot. You don't want that with Madurai anymore. So, there's a few other amps that, you know, I am going to be intrigued to mess around with. If I see something that is better, I will definitely make a video, but I came in like a few days ago and just tried it with the Clamora, and that's the results I got. I was like, huh, okay, that's a thing. So that's the end of this tutorial. For anyone who wants to learn and is interested in how focus has changed or the tennis schools have changed with Eidolon hunts, just a quick recap. Madurai is S tier, Unairu is sadly at the bottom. Naramon, I don't want to place after seeing the one skill. I actually want to try that out off video. And, you know, Zenurik and Vazarin, they're not going to help you really do anything to the Eidolon, but they're supportive. And, like I said, as you can see, you probably only need 2 Madurai users now. It's not bad if someone's running some support. And I like that this patch opens up the idea of more team comp and team styles for Eidolons, because it sadly was really getting solo based, and it still is very solo based, but for people who aren't, you know, crazily skilled, have the crazy S tier builds, you know, it's something that I like. I am proud that DE chose to do something regarding team composition. Because one thing that I've struggled with this game is team comps. And not that I struggled in putting them together. I struggle in finding a reason to even care about my team comps anymore. You know, when you could just go in with, you know, the most overpowered frame into a mission and just bully level 45s like it's nothing. Like, you know, that kind of struggles with why does it matter what my friends play. And that was one thing Warframe had a long time ago that I loved about it. And it sadly has gotten away from that. And, you know, part of that's the community. Part of that's my own fault for becoming overpowered and power hungry with how do I break everything. But, you know, there was hopes that content would make it so my broken stuff was worth. And I just haven't felt that. And it's nice to see that they're trying to hopefully change that. And I can appreciate that. So that's the end of the video. As I said, I'm going to be trying to post more Warframe content along with my Terra content. I hope you all enjoyed. Please go ahead and throw down any comments you got. Throw down some stuff you guys have tried on the Eidolon. If anyone's able to get the Unairu Wisp to work on the Eidolon, I'd be so happy. Please share it. But do be cautious that if a Vomalist is underneath and gets hit, the Vommies will spawn it. The Eidolon is not. So, and I don't want to have to be focused on finding Vommies while I'm doing Eidolon hunts when I need to. Don't want to rely on it. But yeah, go ahead. Throw some stuff at me in the comments of what you think. Hope you enjoyed, and that's about it, guys.